Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I'm going to answer a question that a student had for me that could actually be very beneficial to your training, not only yours personally, of course, but for your clients. And the question is since the deltoid is a three-headed muscle, right? An anterior, medial, and posterior head, shouldn't I be training all three heads like different muscle groups? Like I train my biceps and I train my triceps. Well, if I have an anterior, medial, and posterior head to the deltoid, shouldn't I be training each one of those heads like as if it's their own muscle versus just training the deltoids, as an individual muscle? So it's actually a good question. And I've heard it asked any number of times in different ways. The short answer to that question is no. And I'm going to give you the actual reason here in a minute. And when I say no, you don't have to train them like three separate muscles. What I'm saying is that I don't recommend you look at them like three separate muscles. It is a single muscle. I'll give you another example. Your triceps, for instance, is a tricep. So it has three heads. Okay. Should you train your tricep like three different muscles, or your biceps, which has two heads, should you train it like two separate muscles? And the answer is, well, no. Not only no, but actually you can't. So the idea is that with the deltoids, it's a little different, but the answer is still no. It's not three separate muscles. You don't walk in on Monday and train your pecs, your anterior delts, and your triceps. We do all the pushing movements, right? Or the pushing muscles, chest, deltoid, shoulders, total, and triceps. We don't train our, lats, rear delts, and biceps, right? That's not the workout routine that we recommend. We train our entirety of our back and our biceps. So, of course, the confusion comes in where you say, well, isn't my deltoid sort of unique, and am I not using those different heads when I train antagonistic muscles such as the pectoralis major and the lats? And the answer to that is yes. Okay, so I'll give you that. Now, when you're training your deltoids, the three heads of the deltoid are somewhat unique in that they do participate a lot in just about everything you ever do. So the answer to that question, do they participate when I'm training pecs and back and trapezius? And the answer to that is yes. So from that perspective, the deltoids are somewhat unique. It does not mean, however, that you train the three different heads of the deltoid and treat them as three different muscle groups. It's actually not a good idea. Then the reason for that is really simple. They are three heads of the same muscle, which means that there is not only unique neuromuscular stimulus to the different areas of the deltoid, but there is also general neurostimulation to the entire muscle. What does that mean? That means that when I do an anterior lateral raise or a front raise, and I'm predominantly working my anterior head of the deltoid, guess what? Yeah, the posterior head is working. You can't train one area or one head of the deltoid without putting some stress or stimulus on the other two heads. I know when you're doing rear delts, you lean forward and you're lifting those dumbbells up and out to the sides, and you really feel it in the back in the posterior head deltoid. Absolutely. And it's a great exercise. Absolutely do that. But believe it or not, if I were to put an EKG or some sort of monitor on your anterior deltoid while you did rear deltoid work, guess what I would notice? Yeah, there's electrical stimulation occurring in the anterior. So nothing you do to the posterior delt is going to eliminate front delt usage. The only real time that we ever see any minimizing of neuroactivity in the anterior and not so much in the posterior or vice versa is when we're doing external rotation work of the humerus. So, but that's they're actually just assisting muscles at that point, but I don't want to get off the subject with this. In other words, when you're doing side lateral raises, all three heads work. Okay. When you do front lateral raises, yes, I know you feel it in your anterior, but believe it or not, your rear deltoids are actually involved in that to a certain extent. Why? Because it's a single muscle, which means it not only receives general stimulus to all the fibers, so to speak, but it receives unique particular stimulus to the different heads at particular times or during different exercises. You simply can't negate one head of the deltoid while you're training another head of the deltoid. And by the way, I do it all the time. I'll do deltoid movements, presses, and lateral raises, and then I'll do like a superset, multi-set, where I do anterior, and then I immediately move into laterals, and then without rest, and I immediately go into real delt. And all I'm doing is just having a little bit of fun, putting a little bit more stress, okay, on the different heads. Yes, of course, you could put more stress. Anterior front raises puts more stress on the anterior head of the deltoid. But again, it doesn't negate the posterior head. Doing rear lateral raises, right? Leaning forward and lifting the dumbbells out to the side puts a tremendous amount of particular stress on the posterior head of the deltoid and the lateral head as well, but it does not negate the anterior head of the deltoid. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't just train anterior delts, right? That's all you're doing is anterior delt. Don't do that. It doesn't make any sense, right? From a neuromuscular perspective and from a programming perspective, you train your delts. It just so happens that, yes, have some fun with your clients, have some fun when you're training, and do some anterior delt work, sure, and then go and do some posterior delt work as well. But treating them like three separate muscles, no. One muscle, three heads. Keep that in mind. I hope this was helpful. If so, write the word understand, or I guess write the word helpful, or at least tell me, well, this is a really helpful video, or maybe it wasn't helpful. You already knew it anyway. But one way or the other, give us some comments. Let us know how we're doing, by the way, with our videos. By the way, if you want to become a certified and qualified personal trainer, I'm pointing to the description box below. I want you to go ahead and click on that link. By the way, give us a thumbs up, like if that is the case. Share the video as well, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. If you have, great job. Thanks. We appreciate it. Remember, every Wednesday night we do a Quizlet Live, right? If you've never used Quizlet, it is a great study tool. It really is very helpful. Well, we actually create this competition called Quizlet Live, and makes it a lot of fun. 30 minutes, 6 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You got to keep that in mind. 6, 5 Central, 4 Mountain, 3 Pacific. Okay. For those of you that live out in California. So keep that in mind. 30 minutes. It's going to help you in your exam preparation. As always, let us know how we can be of assistance to help you in your efforts and your struggle to become a certified, qualified personal trainer. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.